welcome to the January Parks and Recs meeting. Somebody like to call it to order?
I'll make a motion to call to order, January 28th, 6:30 PM.
I'll second it.
All right, Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll take roll. Kate Smith, here. Dennis Kapelinski.
Here.
Sharon Parkala.
Here.
John Jones. Robert Smith.
Here.
Jennifer McConnell.
Here.
Bridget King.
Here.
Kathleen, help me with your last name.
Check.
Kopchak.
Yeah.
Okay. Rob Jones. Here. Welcome. Any questions or comments about the agenda? Okay, would somebody like to approve it?
I'll approve the agenda for January 28th meeting.
I'll second it.
Questions or comments regarding the minutes from December 3rd? Would somebody like to approve that?
I will make a motion to approve. A second.
Okay. Presentations, state of the parks.
All right, hopefully our support downstairs will queue up the presentation. This is really an opportunity for me to revisit our master plan, assess needs, and report back to you. It also seems like good timing with some new members here. Next slide. Tonight, I'm going to provide a quick overview. We're going to tie back to the master plan. Can you even see that? I'm so sorry.
It's a little dark over there. I can actually see it better over here because
Okay.
it's a
Apologize.
better lit background.
I'm going to take a look park by park at some of the needs, the priorities, the short and long-term goals. We'll look at the budget and end with a few slides that speak to the value of parks in the community and what's next. Next slide. Hopefully this looks familiar. This is right out of the master plan book. The green squares are all the park properties. They're listed there from largest to small and ending with our 2 facilities. Let's go to the next slide. And before we dive into the park by park look, I want to highlight the Parks Master Plan. Completed at the end of 2023. As most of you know, this is the 5-year plan that provides a vision for the Parks and Rec Department. It's often a requirement for grants before you apply. Specifically, DNR grants require that. It's a strategic guide. I think I have a quote in there right out of the book about our strategy. But really, it provides a plan for capital improvements, the investments, and really holds all the wishes and wants. Next slide. As many of you know, gosh, I really apologize, that's so tiny. I'm going to send you the copy if you want to look at it afterward, like a digital. The process in putting together the plan involves city administration and staff, the Park and Rec Commission, citizens. So, you know, there were surveys, most of you were here for that. And then, of course, the consultant group who puts together the, some of the demographic and data points. So this is an action plan that reflects the needs and ideas of those who are using the Garden City parks and facilities. We as staff need to be in line with this guide, so our decisions, our spending should be in line with this document. That's the main point. Okay, next park. So we're going to dive in. City Park, most everybody's pretty familiar with all of the cool things going on in the park. You know, this is truly the gem of the park system. A beautiful tree canopy, the walking path is so busy, so much active recreation. We saw in the last meeting some of the data on how many visitors are coming to this park, over 300,000. So this is really the busiest park. The majority of our park staff attendants who are supporting operations and providing maintenance and programming. Let's go to the next slide. So again, a destination for many citizens, many neighboring communities. I just want to mention the Kerwin Classic that drew over 4,000 people. Again, we saw that last meeting, on one day to the park. So the part-time park attendant staff are tasked to manage the pavilion rentals, trash can emptying, litter pickup, filling doggy bag stations, cleaning of the restrooms. In 2024, there were 164 pavilion rentals that generated over $14,000 in revenue. So it is a busy operation. Of course, we have maintenance support from DPW, so they are cutting the grass and handling the special requests or work orders for repairs of infrastructure items. The next slide is going to be that beautiful park map that I talked about that shows all of the trash cans. So the blue recycle bin is just representing the locations of the trash bins. There's 42 of them. And, this makes sense when you see how many people are visiting this park. But when you see it like this, you realize how much work goes into emptying these. This is, again, the duty handled by our part-time staff who really do a tremendous job with keeping the park clean from just the kind of trash that gets generated from those kind of numbers. Next slide. So with the park this busy and drawing so many people, we have our hands full. From managing just the regular daily activity to large-scale events, there's a lot going on to keep the park clean, tidy, and cared for. Vandalism and crime has been an ongoing challenge. So some of those examples are, things getting stuffed into the toilets, like rags and things that you don't really understand why people are doing that, but it causes a lot of damage. There was a garbage can that was set on fire. Again, I kind of wonder why. Driving on grass, creating ruts, graffiti. So these are acts of destruction that take away from other, efforts or directing resources away from other things. They're a bit disheartening. They just take time and money to address. These type of issues are what resulted in the bathhouse restrooms being closed except for rentals because just leaving them open was causing a lot of destruction. So the bathrooms outside of the ice rink are always open. Another area that we manage is, unhoused residents or individuals who set up in the park. This isn't unique to Garden City, but it is a challenge. And these are individuals who are welcome to use public spaces. We just have to find a way, to manage when they're interfering with either rental parties or events that are being planned. And of course, address behaviors that are inappropriate. So sometimes those things come up as well. The restrooms,
Some of them try to stay overnight?
Yeah. So our ordinances prohibit sleeping in the parks, but that certainly can happen. The bathrooms, the condition of them, primarily just the aesthetics of them. Let's see, am I still on this page? Yeah. Our staff do a great job at cleaning them. And the next slide, we'll talk about that in a moment. But before I get to that, another thing I want to mention is just the aging infrastructure. So bathrooms, roads, pavilions, picnic tables, even trees. All of these items over time get older, and they do need to be reinvested in. Our strategies are kind of listed on the right there. We're going to do what we can with what we have to upkeep and maintain. Providing, the basic maintenance, cleaning the bathrooms, collecting that litter and trash. Mike hires great staff who care, and they do what they can to show that the park is cared for and being supervised. Volunteer work days, we'll talk more about those, but we have, GCYAA that's very active in that park. Another strategy is adding some police presence. So just having police come through helps us out because it shows again, okay, this park is being cared for, it's being monitored. And then lastly, it's my job as staff, it's kind of all of our responsibility to be advocating for these amenities and these parks in our community. Okay, next slide. This, you're probably not gonna be able to read either, but these are actual comments and complaints that we've gotten on the pool house bathrooms, and this is the #1 complaint at City Park. These were emailed to us, but there's been people at council sharing kind of what we all feel. The bathrooms are dated, they're drab, they're in need of updates. The next slide has, what it looked like last year. Since the summer, the awning has been taken down, and DPW was out to clean up some of the landscape. And one of our plans is to paint the bathrooms on the inside and also to maybe do a mural on the inside there just to show, again, some care. It's not going to fix the design and the, some of the structural, like, unattractiveness of it, but anything we can do to show that it's being cared is going to help. And so, next slide. Okay. So this is right out of our master plan, the content, the recommended repairs. So, we see restrooms and ball field lights as the two major needs. So restrooms, we just talked about. I think everybody's on board. We would love to see funding come through to be able to do something with that. The ball field lights, again, just over time, not all of them are working. These are big, costly investments. Other identified wants or opportunities, as we call them in the master plan, include developing a multi-use field, tree plantings. Really, I'd like to see an inventory, some pruning, but a replanting plan to keep new trees coming up, a digital sign. So those are, again, those identified in our master plan. They're in line with what we're hearing from the community. And if you go to the next slide, our short-term goals are to host a volunteer workday where we can do some painting. We will continue to keep the bathrooms closed except during rentals and special events with the main rink open. And another area that we just completed was updating the special event policies. So clarifying the policies and expectations to help us minimize the potential issues. And that has been done, and that's up on our website, just helping us communicate the expectations. I don't know if anybody wants to pause and talk about City Park at all. This is our biggest park, our most visited. I don't know if anyone has any additional thoughts, or I can keep going.
I have to ask, the digitizing the signs, are you talking about for the ball fields? Or-
Yeah, no, I believe that is the front entrance sign. No? The digital sign wish at City Park. Yeah, for the entrances, I think to promote either events coming or
Like Music in the
communicate
Park
happenings.
this Thursday, or,
Like this one out here.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
in front of,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just to
Yeah.
kind
Would you
of,
put two?
residents know
One
what's
at each
going on.
entrance, or just the one?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the want.
yeah,
know.
that was on the want list. not
Yeah.
the-
No, they are expensive.
So, yeah, so. Anything else? Okay, well, let's go to Moeller Park. That is our second biggest park. This one is the big focus on our ball fields, right? It also supports football. There's a multi-purpose court activity. GCYAA is really supported on the care and, programming, essentially. The next slide is just some photos. Again, GCYAA has invested in updates to the concession stand and, the fields as best they can. The next slide is going to come back to those recommended repairs as outlined in the master plan, as echoed in the outreach we did last summer. The ball field updates and court fencing. There's a photo there. There's a lot of fencing that's just pulling away. I mean, it's both a hazard, and I don't know when those fences went in, but it's been a long time. We know that the playground needs maintenance to bring the surfacing level up. This playground was installed in 2001. Typically, a playground has a 30-year lifespan. So, again, planning for how can we replace that in a few years or in the future. A lot of you know this park was submitted for a grant. It's moved all the way through for $500,000, but it's been sitting in the executive office waiting for sign-off. And, just today, all the federal funding has been frozen. So I'm not sure what impact this will have on this grant program. So I'm just kind of keeping my fingers crossed. No doubt it will cause delays. And then the next slide is outlining the goals, which one of them was really planning on getting this grant, because this is the same grant that we have at Radcliffe right now, the HUD grant, so we know we'd have to do an environmental review. And then if we were to get that grant, I would immediately put in for a DNR grant to leverage that funding so we could make it go even further. So I'm hoping, you know, I'm a little bummer today to hear that. I was a little worried that might happen, but we'll keep going. The next park, next slide, is Rotary Park. So soccer, pavilion, restrooms, playground, walking track, another pretty popular park. Next slide. The master plan did outline updating the pavilion, which was done in 2023. So there's just some miscellaneous touch-up and painting that we're hoping to do. Staying up on the playground maintenance and taking care of the soccer field are the recommended repairs. Yeah, sorry. And again, here, vandalism is another challenge we're dealing with. If we go to the next slide, we'll see some pictures from just earlier in the winter. You know, we've also had vandalism in the bathrooms. I think we talked about something here recently in the fall, just the kids are getting into, you know, just destructive things. And it's really heartbreaking because this is a field that, you know, when you're trying to play soccer, these kind of divots really, you know, are bad.
How were they able to get on that field? I know we put,
Yeah, there's a lot of boulders, but there's areas where they got around and got in there. So, you know,
soccer club
Mike
put
worked
the
with
boulders up
DPW,
years
they've gone
ago.
out and tried to repair it, but these are challenges at this park. The next slide just outlines our goals, which, you know, we're looking to work with Rotary Club and to continue with some community volunteer work days. This was one, obviously, we had in the fall that was really successful. We are going to keep the bathrooms locked unless programs, rentals, or supervision is available. So again, this is why they end up locked, is because we have so many issues, and it just, you know, it ruins it for people, because we do get questions, can you leave them open? And we would love to, but it's just, I mean, in the bathrooms there, they like spitball things on the ceiling, and you're just like, why? You know, why are you doing this? This is your, you know, your park, but that's kids sometimes. So, you know, our other goal is to work with our soccer association, identify the field needs, the maintenance objectives that they have. What can we do to support just the field? You know, and on this park, I would love to engage with some neighbors and try to find some extra eyes that can just keep an eye on things and let us know if, you know, something's going on after school, because we know there's a bus stop there. So those are different strategies that we'd like to see in 2025. So let's go to our next park, Kiwanis. I think everybody knows this court this park for the handball courts. But again, there's a playground. It's our only park with basketball hoops. Next slide. What we saw in the master plan and what we heard when we were out in the community is that there's a desire to see some investment here. The infrastructure's aging. It does look tired. Yeah, this is the parking lot that's really in bad shape. And there's a lot of community interest here. There's interest in Kiwanis and working with us. You know, of course, it's just a question of funding. The next slide is just outlining what our goals. Again, let's partner with Kiwanis and explore opportunities to partner on either fundraising or what improvements can be made, and getting out there this summer to work on the playground. This is our oldest playground in the park system as well.
Have you talked with the Kiwanis group?
Yes, I did meet with them over winter, and they are, once they're through the pig race, they want to do a walkthrough in the park.
They came a few years ago, and
Yes, and they did some research on playgrounds and got a beautiful design, and I believe it was like 500,000. And so, you know, we can partner with them. What they cannot do as a partner group is really seek grants because they don't own the property. And the city is not going to give up park property, but we can partner, right? Because as landowners, that's what makes those partnerships great is, you know, if we can get a nonprofit group, if we get another grant, you know, things could happen. But yeah, that's definitely something that we can keep pursuing this year. And let's go to our next park, Manor Park. Next slide. This has got the 2 soccer fields and a playground. The next slide, you know, again, the master plan noted the need for field maintenance. We know the playground needs additional wood chips to be compliant. Some of the want items include restrooms, drinking fountains, and ADA access. The goals for the summer on the next slide. Again, looking to plan a volunteer workday, meet with a soccer association, again, the big park user in that sense, to review maintenance needs and priorities from them. And we're going to move to Florence Park. We had a lovely workday there last fall. Of course, we've got a playground, a large open field space, some other amenities as well. The master plan was, again, repeating the same things we heard at the outreach events. According to the playground inspection report, this was the worst condition. There is some metal, what is that called? Like the bases that are eroding and rusting out. We don't quite know how to fix them, but you know, this is heavily used by the school next door. And so we'd like to partner with them on the park work days and you know, having their help. The next slide is, again, just going to outline, okay, so that's just repeating the master plan. So the goals are to come back in the spring. This is the one where we needed to add more wood chips and workday with Tipton. Look into the light pole. So if you remember in this park, there's a light pole out in the grassy area because I believe that originally was a court of some sort. I'm not sure what type. So we have had requests to remove it. I'm kind of curious if it actually works, you know, or if there would be interest in keeping it if there was like pickleballs, you know, courts being in, you know. So before we take it down, I think we should evaluate exactly potential there. But those are some of the things to look into this summer. We're going to go to Arcola Park. This park is like about 3/4 of an acre, so it's pretty small. This playground is also noted, well, this is the second worst from the inspections that we had done. The installation date is unknown, and really the biggest concern here is the flooding. You know, I think the playground in particular seems to be located in like the lowest point on the park, so that's going to be a big challenge. If you want to go ahead, I think our goals are just to host a work day, to get the playground looking better and really evaluate, you know, where a new playground would go, because I think it's not designed for that land. And then our very last park, everybody know what our smallest park is?
Yeah.
Helen Park. So this is less than half an acre, and there was some nice improvements made in 2022. Some of the, on the next slide, some of the recommended repairs are weeding and maintaining the playground. So there's not, the way the sidewalks are around it, there's not a ton of room to add wood chips, but it's low for what it needs to be for the surfacing requirements. So we're gonna have to figure out how we add more wood chips without them spilling all over into the sidewalks. I think the other amenity that would be nice to add is a picnic table. I think I learned that that was originally in the plans to install a permanent picnic table on one of the, there was like a area for it. So that would be nice. You know, additional wants were benches and trees. And our goal is to have a workday this summer. Okay, moving on. So let's talk about the ice rink. So the ice rink, constructed in 1972, for many, over the years, there's been a lot of upgrades, and really, for most of its life, has been the heart of the Parks and Rec department, right? Most of the staff were centered there, and currently, we've got a hefty list of capital requests. So let's look at that. The next slide, diving into the master plan, you'll see flooring, a PA system, locker rooms, and bleachers. We also are noting that we're coming to the end of the lifespan on the roof. That went in, I think it's 27 years ago. And we're noticing some just signs of it getting to the end of its life. So these are all really big ticket items. Let's take a look at some of these, Mike's been looking into, well, what do these things cost? So this is just basically an estimate for flooring, and this is that rubberized, material that is so that people on their skates can walk from the locker room to the ice. So there's a chunk of it that's around the arena and the lobby, and then there's in the locker rooms. And together, it's about $165,000. So currently, the staff is piecing together pieces to cover gaps or move things around. You can see part of it's eroded. So, Mike has said about 4 times a year they're going to go through, they cut it out and try to place it to protect it. It looks like there was some replaced back in 2009, but it's really hard to see when the last investment was for the entire flooring. So a big ticket item, but when you've got an ice rink, that's pretty important. The other item that we've got some information on is the PA sound system. So I couldn't find installation history in the master plan, but Mike did let me know that the figure skating club had donated money towards it at one point. There are speakers in the bleachers and on the ice. So currently, 3 of the speakers in the bleachers do not work. One of them was burnt out and removed. The amp went out 5 or 6 years ago. That was replaced. But the speakers that are over the ice are rather muffled, and so sometimes you can't hear clearly. And so that's where this need comes from for whether it's the figure skating, announcements, or even hockey. And that cost up there is, I think, around $40,000, and that's just showing you all the little pieces of it. So, these are expensive items. And then additional wants on the next screen, locker room additions. So there are currently 5, and I know I'm like, well, 5, that seems like a good amount of locker rooms. So what I've learned is when the rink was built, there was 4, 2 large and 2 small. The 2 large ones are good. The 2 small fit about 10 people, and so they don't actually hold a full team. They're currently used for either like a women's changing area, and they just don't cut the need as outlined in the Safe Sport guidelines. A few years ago, in 2018, there was a locker room added. So now we have 3 big ones, which is good. But ideally, we would want 5, but 4 would allow you to have tournaments. So a team comes in, they're using it, well then the other team has to prep to play after. So it's really an operational, feature to have those locker rooms, and there's, separating the teams and different reasons. So that's why that's a request for adding a couple locker rooms. Board replacements, so those are the things around, like the glass, but it's not glass, or I don't know, it's a special. Bleacher upgrades, so the bleachers we have are made out of wood with plastic covering. The wood is cracking. There's been repairs to screw in, like support to, maintain it and get it to last longer. Some of the plastic, when it bubbles up, is cut out, removed, and the wood's repainted, but that's just kind of now you're getting under the plastic. So again, those are just the capital request over at the rink. And I think that's it. What else? the goals are to continue to operate a clean, well-managed facility, right? We just, like anybody, you got to do the best with what you have, and that's what our staff is going to continue to do. You know, Mike is really great at looking for sponsorship, you know, advertising, selling ice to as many groups. You know, and it's important to stay on the preventative maintenance too, because some of this mechanical systems, these are big systems over there, and we just need to stay up on the industry. What are the lifespans? You know, what are the must-haves for us to stay, you know, operational? So that is the ice rink. The next slide is, of course, our newest little building, the Radcliffe Center, and I'm really not going to talk about this. There's a whole, the next slide. Just probably fell asleep, sorry. You know, still under renovations. Well, imagine a picture with all sorts of things at Radcliffe happening. There's a lot of conversations happening now about the operating cost. I think the workshop in February is going to really start addressing some of the concerns as we get into budget season. You know, how do we maintain and operate this on top of everything we just looked at that has a lot of needs? So we'll see that in February, have its own workshop. Oh, there it is. Okay, thank you. And so the next slide is our budget overview. So as just a reminder, you know, the city expenditure budget is, you know, just over 54 million. About 29 million is in the general fund. And within the general fund, Parks and Recreation is just one department that's competing with fire, police, DPW, to name a few. As we've been looking at the budget the last few months, you all know now there's 3 department budgets. We've got the parks, so that's the maintenance and the stuff in the parks. Radcliffe is its own department for budgetary stuff, and then the ice rink is its own. And you can see the 3 expenditure costs that add up to about 2.2 million. So the nice thing in our world is we do generate revenue. So that's through rentals, registrations, fees, and that's just over 800,000. So right now, if you take all of the park stuff together, the net cost is 1.3. So this is going to be a number that we're going to be feeling the pressure on. How do we reduce that, right? Last year, the city budget was a negative 2.5 million, and that cannot continue. So there is going to be a lot to talk about. So just to give that overview, the next slide. I think this is just a couple of notes on maintenance. You know, within the parks budget that I just showed you, there's not actually a line item for maintenance. So some of the maintenance comes from DPW, that's within their larger budget, but we don't really have in our budget money for the wood chips on the playground or so we're just very thin, right? So you see all the money and the costs, but we don't have a lot to work with when it comes to maintenance and upkeep. But just over time, it gets hard to find that money in that general fund. That's why the volunteer work days, they're really impactful. You know, volunteers can do a lot of the things that we don't have staff or other people do. So we're going to continue to try to build that to provide that supplemental support. And then, the tree donation program, that's something I hope to bring to you all in the coming years to talk about that and just sort of update it so it's more friendly, so people can donate trees, and we can, you know, add those things into the park. So I just wanted to mention those 3 or 4 things, sorry. Oh yeah, that's 3 things, okay. Next slide, just before I wrap up, I want to highlight, you know, a few of the ways that parks do make our community better. You know, obviously, I think that this is an essential service, and let's look at the value of community engagement. The next slide. You know, parks provides the background for many, many gatherings. The sense of community here in Garden City is really special, and parks play a key role in providing the spaces to host these type of events and community gatherings. The next slide, the health benefits associated with parks, so whether it's physical, mental, social, whether it's organized sports, all the youth sports we have going on, just playgrounds, free open-ended play for kids, being outside, walking, our brains and our bodies are wired, to be in nature and to have this sort of play and engagement with nature. So it's really, to me, this is what makes parks essential to a community, is just that value. The third item, the economic impact. So this is just highlighting, there's a lot of studies out there that show the closer you live to a park, the higher your home value is. Granted, it's got to be a well-cared-for park, but it is a desirable place for homes, and it raises your home value. It also, let's see, we know that large special events like the Kerwin Classic, things that are bringing in thousands of people, they're coming into the community, they're stopping for lunch before or after, there's just economic impact from those visits. And then on the right is just some information from the National Park Association that's highlighting Michigan. They do a lot of studies and, to get these numbers. But even the next slide, we're going to talk about job creation, because just here in the Parks and Rec Department, on the next slide, we have around 50 employees, and some only work 3 hours a week. Maybe it's a dance instructor, and some of us are full-time. So there's about 50 people, 29 of whom are Garden City residents. So, this is a real economic value, just the jobs that are created and experiences. And we get a lot of young folks, but we also have, employees of all ages. So that's the economic impact. And lastly, but not least, the environmental benefits. So parks, really offer green infrastructure. And, unlike developed construction, parkland is providing those natural systems that help us recover better from storms, right? That's stormwater management and runoff. Trees, they do clean the air. A lot of value, even wildlife, not necessarily like big animals, but just the biodiversity, like it's important. And, we're in a more densely urbanized area, and, these things do matter. We know people want to live in areas where nature is accessible, right? So these are some of the reasons I just wanted to end with, why parks are so important. And obviously, you're all on the Park Commission, so I think you're all on board. The last slide is really what's next. We all know the funding is a challenge. The bond was so close to passing. We're certainly looking at that in the year 2026. And the only other thing I wanted to mention is that there was other input that we heard from the community about other wishes or wants, like a splash pad or dog park. And so those are things that we're going to need to continue to explore or just strategize about. But I'm going to wrap it up and see if you have questions or want to just follow up or provide any input of anything that I missed that you heard last summer from engagement or anything else. Everybody's speechless.
The only thing, I have talked to a few people that go to the park, and they were concerned about people staying at the park all night, some of my neighbors. That was one thing that a young lady said she didn't feel real comfortable.
Yeah.
She seen the same individual day after day, and I told them that I didn't think anyone stayed there.
Yep, they're not supposed to.
Right, right.
So you can call and report that. There are ordinances in place to prevent
Yeah.
sleeping in the park, and but it's a hard thing to monitor, and
Yes, it is.
but
Then hard times fall on people too, Hard times fall on some people too.
Right.
But
Right.
you have to prepare for it. And also like the restrooms, the restrooms are nice, and they, maybe if you update them, and they will get an idea, they look nice, so maybe we will keep them that way. But a lot of that goes back, and I'll say this, goes back to parenting. If you don't tell a child what's right and wrong, they'll do whatever they want to do. And I see a lot of that.
yeah. Well, there's not much we can do with that, but you are right. A lot of the psychology behind vandalism is if a place looks uncared for, it's more apt to get graffiti, and so that's absolutely true. Better it's cared for, so.
I think this information is very helpful. I know it's sad that there's not a budget for all these upgrades, you know, but I appreciate you going after grants and putting all of this together at least, so we can be informed about, you know, where we want our parks to go. Anything else? Questions or comments?
Thanks.
Yeah, it's pretty overwhelming. Hearing about all the stuff that, you know, this may sound off the wall, but the Illiches started their Little Caesars empire here in Garden City. I just wondered, would it be impossible to somehow reach out to, I'm sure they must have some sort of charitable foundation. See if they
Yeah,
would be
I think that's an
interested in-
amazing idea. I did try through their general sort of inquiry, and I tried that approach, like, it's the birthplace of Little Caesars, you know?
Right.
You know, I always feel like
Naming.
anything is possible, just some things are 1,000 times harder and more difficult, and you have to have just grit and whatnot. But, I mean, I think those are all, like, anything is possible, you know? I think it's important that we spend the time to reflect on where we are and all the work that was done. You know, this is really just a review, but it echoed everything I heard last summer. And, you know, I think we have to at least have a vision of where we want to go. And sometimes, you know, little thing, the world would just conspire. Not always, but, you know, I think we should continue to try to find big donors and sponsors, because it's not just Little Caesars. There's Kresge, you know, the first Kmart, that was a full
Yes.
Kmart here. And there's one other, the first McDonald's that was a seat-in or something, you know, but, so you never know. And if you ever have connections, you know, just put it out there, because you never know.
If I did, I would.
Saying that brand new roof, though, it looked good with the Little Caesars logo on it, right?
Sure.
Yeah, see, exactly.
Glad they take that.
Isn't that right?
Arena.
We have not.
Yeah, they could put a giant pizza on there. We would totally be, you know, cool with that.
Junior.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions or comments regarding the presentation?
And do we want to go to the public? I don't know if there's any public input, comments? No?
Okay. So there's not a public hearing, we can just skip over that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Public comment, agenda items only.
Don't all rush up here now.
Okay, moving on. Items for consideration, old business, none, so we'll move on to new business.
Okay, me again. In your packet, you did get the quarterly budget review. And let's see, say on that. Make sure I don't- Okay, key items to share on my end. One, it is so great that we have a finance director. So if you remember, we did not have one until end of November. So Deanne is our finance director treasurer, and she's been able to correct some of the issues that we had in the last quarter. If you remember, like salaries were coming out of part-time, line items, it was just a mess and we couldn't really see it. So that has all been cleaned up. The good news is our budget is performing well with the budget that we're working with. So if you haven't looked through it, you know, basically we're at the 50% point. So you're looking at through December 31st. And our revenues are where they should be by and large. The exceptions are noted in the report, so sometimes we know revenue comes later in the year because like softball, for example, is coming soon. So nothing that's alarming at all. The revenue looks really good at both the ice rink and at Radcliffe, actually outperforming projections a little bit at Radcliffe, which is great. Of course, as I mentioned, moving into budget season, what's going to be looked at is what budget we get to start with. And so I think that's going to be the big question moving forward. But for today's purposes, I'm not going to go through everything. I don't know if anyone had questions or we want to talk about any of it, but I did obviously share the report with you. Yeah.
I'm not an account by trade, okay? So, would it be possible to possibly get the financial person in to maybe do a little presentation so
Yeah.
we know what we're looking at here?
Yeah,
As far
and
as,
what we started, and you missed this, is we were going through each section. So maybe what I could do is get you some back details, because I provided a guide for, I think it was the park system that we went through, line item by line item.
Okay.
Revenue side, and then expenditure side, to try to make it more clear. But to your question, I think that's totally possible. Right now, she is like eyeball deep in audit and, only a few months in, so I probably wouldn't ask her now. But that's totally a fair question. It takes some time, and that's why we were kind of taking this year to go through it more closely. I think today I didn't want to burden everybody with, all my presentations. But, when you look at it, the way the budget is, it's broken up into the revenues, by those departments. And we did spend some time going through it as a commission before you came on. So I'll send you some of those notes. I think it might be helpful.
okay.
I think, does it start to look more familiar to the rest of you?
Yes.
Yeah, because we did some of those exercises.
Yeah, because what always stands out to me is the ones in parentheses is always a shortfall or,
Right, and then there's different columns that are saying different things, and so.
yeah.
Yeah, and I'd be happy to meet with you too and
Sure.
just spend time going over it, because for me, this is an important year of learning our budget. The prior year, and we talked about this earlier, there was a lot of different numbering system, so it makes it hard to really compare last year, like where were we last year at this time? It's very difficult to see that now. Next year, we'll have this year.
Right.
But there was a lot of changes that happened that had nothing to do with me or anyone else, but well, it had something to do with someone else, but I think it was state mandated or something. So I don't know.
Okay, any other questions or comments regarding the budget?
No.
Okay, moving on to proposed policy.
Okay, so I put in a cover letter for you to try to explain a couple of the policies. So on the security cameras, as we're planning to open up the front desk, you will eventually see live camera footage in the monitors. And, I thought it was important, once people are going to be able to see that, to understand, well, how are we using them? Who's watching them? What are the parameters for our security system? We have, I think, 72 cameras and 100 angles. And so this proposed policy is really to provide understanding to staff and to the public and you all, because I know someone already asked me about it, to understand who's watching, for what purpose, and why are we using it. Otherwise, it gets invasive and it feels creepy, right? So I wanted something. So I worked with some of our staff across the city, and what you have in your packet is a proposed, it's pretty basic, but it at least provides the guidelines of who has access and what we're doing with it. And even for us as staff, when we want to go back and look at something, to have a process and a protocol, so that we're not just, So I don't know, did anyone have any questions or want to know more about the cameras or any thoughts?
I just think everything was great. If you don't have cameras, we'll get them. It's great for security, deters staff,
Yeah.
deters everything, so.
Vandalism.
It looks good.
Sounds good.
Doesn't look invasive.
Yeah.
Could they be used to catch some of the vandalism?
Yeah, well, these are specifically in Radcliffe or at the rink. But yeah, that's exactly the situation. So if we're trying to enforce policy or manage vandalism or what is crime, right? then it can be used. It's just sort of stipulating how do we go about it, and we record it so that people know what we're looking back on. You know, I don't want it to become, I mean, it is happening at Radcliffe, you know, trying to go back, what kid did this, and, you know, and like, how much time do we want to spend on it, and what are we, you know, at what point, you know, so we're still trying to develop that, but this is the initial policy that's more overarching, but, yeah. And we know that once the footage is out and everybody sees it, we think that will be helpful, because now you really see like, oh, yeah, I see I'm going to be watched when I mow down here, you know, so.
I think I read that, right, when you come in, there's a monitor that people can see.
Yeah, at the front desk, there'll be 2 big monitors that are behind the desk, but they're meant to show the public, you know, that the staff can see all the places that we can't see from the desk,
Yeah.
you know. Because, you know, we got that middle school right next door to us, and there, those kids.
When do you think the desk will be completed? It looks, I mean, it's
Yeah,
well
we're
on its way.
waiting, we're waiting for countertops. I think that's the big thing. Once the countertops are in, all the IT stuff's been wired, so we just got to physically move things, and I think some monitors have been ordered and that stuff, but, so hopefully soon, we're ready for that. But that's it. It's not so much an action item, I don't know. I'm never quite sure what is required action here. But you guys could support it, actually, the policy.
I think it's a good idea to have cameras. I mean, you know, like
Yes,
it
yes.
deters, I feel like,
Yeah.
and lets you watch all the areas that they are not there.
Yeah.
Well, I think you've set up a great policy on who has access to it, because,
Yeah.
you know, there's something mentioned about the police can go back and review whatever they need, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I always say, it tells a third-person story, right? I mean, there is an altercation, there's this side, there's the truth, right? Cameras
Yeah.
tell the truth.
Yeah, we have a lot of cameras, so, okay. So maybe a motion just to approve the proposed
What would we
policy?
call it, the Parks and Recreation?
Yeah, the Parks and Recreation security camera policy.
Okay. I make a motion that we approve a Parks and Recreation security camera policy as presented to the commission.
I second.
Now I take a vote, right? I take a vote on it?
Yeah, all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Oh, we forgot to ask the public, though.
Public comment?
Okay. Okay, then the last item here, speaking of the middle school, we are dealing with some challenging stuff. So there is the middle school next door, and it is important that we're welcoming and that we allow people to come in. Like, that's really important. However, we're having some trouble with the unsupervised kids. So they've had a series of half-a-days, and when they come in half-a-days, Spaceport isn't open yet. They're kind of running through the halls, going in and out of rooms, they're interfering with Head Start, or breaking things.
I found them sitting in a dark room.
Yeah,
Like
so
all of
we're
them.
just trying to figure out how to manage this. So we've instituted a 3-strike policy that they get a warning, the second thing and the third thing, and then they can, you know, they're like banned for 6 weeks or something.
And you can do it because they have to have the.
Well, we don't really have any policies, we're just, because even the membership
If
policy.
you tell them they can't come in for a couple of weeks, if they try to come in, you can.
Well, by that time, the parent's been called and, like, they know. So, I mean, our staff is spending a lot of time meeting with parents and, you know, it's just becoming more challenging. So that, along with sometimes, you know, we are a warming center as well. And then we were just having individuals staying and sleeping in the card room, or not the card room, the game room. And again, trying to figure out what is our role. You know, of course, you're welcome here, but where do we draw the line? Like, your shoes are off, you're sleeping on the couch, like, now it's kind of getting away from the use of that room. So developing a policy that addresses loitering, you know, like, so what I did is look at, like, how are other community centers managing some of these things? And we have many ordinances already in place I included some of those in that memo just to show you, like, those are actual ordinances that help us develop policies that we can enforce when we need to. So we're not trying to become a place where nobody's welcome and you have to do this or that, but we are trying to figure out how to manage some of these more challenging.
The rooms are always open during the day.
Yes, they're open because there's all these HVAC issues where the temperature, the doors need to be open. So, you know, we're trying to like, okay, if they have half day, let's go around and close all the doors. But, you know, we just got the schedule now because we were taken by surprise 2 days in a row. So what's in your
I think it'd be
packet, and
helpful
really,
If you have the schedule, then you could open Teen Tech maybe.
right, we could open
little bit
earlier, you know, but some other challenges are not, all of them are going in there because they like hanging out elsewhere. You know, and I like the kids, I go out and I talk to them and I tell them like, hey, you know, as long as you're sitting quietly, we don't have a problem. When you're swearing, pushing, damaging things, you know, there's been a plant broken, a door jam, you know, just miscellaneous things where we're like, okay, you know, we just trying to figure that all out. It'd be great if we had programming for after school that we could say, hey, we got dodgeball in the gym, and so we're looking at that as well. Could we do activity to engage them? Because, you know, we know if they're not here, where are they going to go? They're going to be bored somewhere else. And so, you know, we're trying to figure out how to support positive activities for them.
And I've talked to some of them when I'm there, and they get out of school and it's easy to walk over there and spend
Yeah.
an hour and a half.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and most of them are fine. There's just a handful that, you know, get very confrontational and, you know, can be disrespectful. So we're like, okay, well, that we can't do. But, you know, we're in this business of now we're managing middle school behaviors, trying to figure out how to do it. So what's in your packet is proposed things, and this is really more open for discussion. You know, I'm just open to your input as far as how you think, you know, we should be for the community. So this is just the Radcliffe Rec general policies. You know, one of the requirements that I've always heard, but we didn't really have it anywhere, was, you know, you have to have a valid membership. So that means we have contact information, emergency, you know, if it's a minor, we have a parent we can call. So we do require that.
And if they get their membership, the parent has to be with them when they.
Yeah, when they do it the first time, the parent has to come in. You know, we're trying to figure out again, if the children or teens, you know, if they're wandering around unchaperoned, you know, horseplay, those are the things we want to address, or at least have a way to address if it starts getting challenging for us to. Any thoughts?
Would you also like a motion?
Yeah, I don't know, I mean, I just was more as, just curious, you know, you all are representing the community and, you know, a lot of you are moms, and so just kind of want to hear your perspectives as far as what you'd like to see us do, or how to manage, or what seems reasonable.
I think you need some ground rules. I'm there a lot, and there are a lot of nice, respectful kids there, but I have heard a couple, like, they were calling like a female staff member, like, yes, sir, and just, you know, just
Yeah.
being, just like you said, confrontational, and they thought it was funny, but, and then like going in rooms that are unlocked, but they'll turn off the lights and then close the door.
Yeah.
So, you know, you don't know they're in there.
Now, they can go into any room they want, like the game room where there's the pool table and the.
Yeah, I mean, you're supposed to be
Shuffleboard.
16.
I know there's a
so-
sign there that says.
So, you know, some of them you don't always know. Like, after a while, you know, like, okay, these are middle schoolers. They're not the 16. You know, again, if they could not cause issues, we're okay with it. But it's just, they're a squirrely age. They're, you know, middle schoolers are more challenging than high schoolers. But, all right, so I'll let you think some ground rules would help. I mean, obviously,
Yeah, this is not, you know, this is not excessive. This is just a couple of things. Should be easy for
Yeah,
most people to follow.
yeah, okay.
How about limiting their access to the entire building? I mean, it might help you keep better tabs on, you know, where they're at and what they're doing. Big building.
Yeah, like locking doors.
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 because we think we know where they're going, and then, like, who's running over here, you know? Yeah. Okay.
I also agree with
Not by your office, because there's a
They
couch
do,
in there,
yeah, they do. Yeah.
chairs
Which I
and
don't mind. I
everything.
mean, sometimes if you can play the piano, and then there's a few that are just like, bong, bong, bong,
Oh, jeez.
you know?
One girl was learning, you know, so she like pulled out her phone and she had an app and she,
Yeah.
she was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even mind that area because I'm close enough, I can hear them, you know, but yesterday I wasn't there, they damaged the door, we fixed it, but, you know, again, now it's time and staff writing a report and we're, you know, it's like, oh my gosh, so. But now we've got these half-a-days written out. I think we'll try to open up Spaceport earlier, and then I think we are going to reduce just the tolerance we've had for horseplay and non-specific hanging out, you know.
Now, the damage was that caught on a camera or something?
Yep,
So they do, you can inform them that there's consequences, whether they're bad or, you know, you can talk with the parents.
yep, and there's definitely a lot of that happening. Our building manager is calling, but I mean, sometimes she has a stack of them, and it's like, okay, we got to do something. You know, we kind of been just sort of seeing if we could, you know, we instilled this 3-strike thing, and some kids got booted. We thought, well, maybe that will work, you know, and now I'm like, well, once we get the cameras up and they see it, maybe, but I think we really just need some policies that we can fall back on and just be like, out today, no, you know, because it's interrupting other classes.
Other things going on.
Yeah, I mean, Head Start came down to us and said they're running around the, you know, on their end, so like, okay,
And it's not like they don't know, because there's signs right up there.
you're right, right. And we know that you can't just go back to the middle school after school and hang out. I mean, there's a reason they make everybody leave. But there's such a great opportunity there, you know,
So
to
close. I
do
mean, it's
something positive with these
2-minute
kids, so,
walk and they're back in the warm.
yeah.
Yeah, the programming ideas, you know, geared towards that age group at that time, right when they're
Yeah.
out, might be,
Because then we could say, hey, you can come in and do dodgeball,
right.
or this or that, but, you know, not running around the halls, you know, so I think we'll try that, so.
Would somebody like to make a motion to support that policy?
I make a motion to support whatever policy we were just discussing, whatever you want to name it.
For general recs under policy, maybe?
Okay.
Rec Center general policies.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes. Okay, other business, instead of waiting to commissioner comments, I just wanted to, so I've missed the last 2 meetings, I apologize. I heard you guys talking about, when I watched the meetings, the scanning cards. So when everyone has a card, when they walk into Radcliffe, they scan at the front desk, which is super helpful, like you were saying, to let us know who is in the building. But there, I believe, are some discrepancies within the scanning of cards. There are just so many groups that don't scan. So as like a dance mom, I'm there and I'm like scanning mine, and then I'm scanning all my kids. And then all these groups are just coming in and walking right past me. So I'm like, how come none of these people are scanning? You know, as I'm scanning every single time. So like FRC doesn't scan, none of the rental groups, the Head Start T-Lab, none of the esports teams, do they scan? Food Pantry does not scan. I'm not sure about the veteran, there's just so many.
Yeah, veterans don't.
So it's, the ideas, I like the idea, you know, why, but there's just so many holes in it. So if, I don't know what the answer is.
No, I appreciate
but-
that. I think you just summarized that very well. It's exactly the challenge. Like, it sounds great, but the data is so unhelpful. I
Maybe
mean,
even like just the front desk asking, hi, what are you here for today? But then like scanning for Spaceport, you know, I think, okay, you wanna know who's in there, or like the gym, right? If they have a membership, they need to have something that allows them in there. So I was
Well, I think we are leaning towards clarifying what are the memberships. So the fitness, spaceport, maybe we'll have one for game room, right? Like you're a member, you go in and you use that. But if you've already registered for a class, I'm not sure that scanning, because it's not 100%, and we already know rosters. We have a list of how many people are in there.
right.
So I think you're going to see us probably move away from that because it is, and we have so many backups at the front and just kind of some customer service things we've got to work through.
And in the classes, you have people that aren't Garden City residents, so they wouldn't have a
Right.
card to scan. If they just
But we've
coming to
given
the
out a
class.
lot of them, like,
Sometimes they'll make you,
You
you know,
know.
they'll get you and say like, oh, we need to give
'Cause-
you a card.
yeah, because when it
For
was
summer programs.
coming out, that was the intent, was we'll know everyone who's in this building.
Right.
Right.
And that is just not, like, possible for a lot of reasons.
Okay, and then also, I heard you, at the council meeting talk about opening the fitness room to all adults, which I love. I think that our community should be able to mingle together, you know, I want the seniors to be able to be with adults. I even think Spaceport.
Seniors are adults.
Well, you know, my generation with your generation, we should be able to work out together and spend time together. And I even think Spaceport should be open to adults. And I thought maybe if more adults were in the building, hanging out, maybe in Spaceport, it would help to keep those kids in line. You know, you'd have more eyes watching. I even thought about maybe you should charge for Spaceport, like a $5 a month or something, you know, something so low. And then,
Or visit or something.
I was just wondering about the movie theater. Have you guys done anything about finding out how to go about showing films?
Yeah, so we are working with the library now because they have a licensing and they do movie programs. So we're looking into programming with them as a way to offer that because it is a cost. I mean, there are so many costs right now from Spaceport. And I mean, everything you just said, we did open up a fitness room. We have opened up Spaceport to everybody now. I think you'll see some more information like posted on it because right now it's not totally clear, but that is what's happening. And we are looking at charging for Spaceport, especially non-residents. They should be paying more. So if we charge residents something, there should be a higher fee for them. So I think you're going to see some of those things.
Well, subscriptions and everything for those video games can be pricey.
Yes, yes. The IT cost for just the building, we just got that information this week, and it's $50,000 just in IT. And the killer is that doesn't include Spaceport and esports because they didn't even want to take that on. So we are emptying out the lab because we're paying on each device, you know, so we're trying to correct, you know, what now we know is just not a good use of taxpayer money.
The computer lab, I think that you could probably get away with 5 to 10 computers. You know, I've never seen more. I saw a class once, and there was 5 older women, and there,
Yeah.
but I've never seen any more than that. You know, one gentleman maybe uses it while I'm there, I see, but it's always empty.
And it's a very large room.
Yeah, it
Yep.
is.
Yep, so that is moving up to the art room too, for a smaller version of that.
Oh, okay. And
The plan,
then,
anyway.
I just was wondering about the progress on Imagination Station and the kitchen. I know
Yeah.
council approved spending, so I was wondering, I saw people working and.
Yeah, I mean, Imagination Station, I think, is coming along pretty well, like, all the cabinetry is in, there's countertops, again, waiting on that. The workshop next week, I think, is gonna really be important, because I think we're at the point where council's gonna really need to direct where they wanna spend this money, and think about operating costs. So there's some big conversations happening about that in the teaching kitchen, similarly. So I don't have anything new on that, other than I'm working with, trying to get some drawings from an architect, to have some stuff to share. So when I come to the workshop, I'm going to be presenting some different options and letting, answering questions, and it's going to be for council to provide direction. And
What time is that, that
it is
workshop?
it's 6:30
Okay,
on
thanks.
February 5th.
That's at Radcliffe?
It will be at Radcliffe, correct?
One other question about your IT costs.
Yeah.
Does that include any of the data that's stored for the video or for the security stuff we just discussed?
Oh, gosh.
No?
I know that we paid up front for all the security stuff, so there are a couple of server fees. Those are fairly nominal.
Okay.
But, the operating cost are, it's a 88,000 square foot building. And there is so much, just the, utilities and just the baseline to operate out of there is an expense. And so we're still really uncovering that. And, these are going to be the conversations that are going to have to happen at council. How do we sustain this beast, So.
Okay, and then just my last little thing was, if you guys are not signed up for the M Parks emails, I would recommend that. They email me, and there's tons of information about Michigan and all the park systems and grants and everything, so.
I think she has to add them, because we've been added for a while now, but I think the new people, you guys are not involved with M Parks, right?
Yeah, I don't think you guys are, but I was at the fall, I think, were you already activated? Because I did reactivate some of them because it didn't look like it, but you were all listed, so
yeah.
I knew that you were in there.
Still
Yeah.
get mine.
Yeah,
Like
okay.
us, we probably are all on there, but these guys are not. So, but it is extremely
Are you,
information.
Bridget, do you get them? No, okay. So I can do that because I know exactly where that's at. Yeah, and it is worthwhile. It's free. So we have a membership with Garden City Parks and Rec, and all our commissioners are free to add, so. And you're on there? Yeah, you don't get them?
I don't.
You've never seen one? Okay. I'll look into that one.
Come from like M Parks, and it'll show you. And then you can,
Quick, what is it?
So that's the Michigan Parks and Recreation Association. So it's the statewide association that is promoting local parks and rec
Like a newsletter.
initiatives.
Right,
So
that's what it is.
it's, what did you say?
Like a newsletter.
About
Yeah, so
what's
that's the
going on in the
newsletter, but they'll
state.
have legislative updates.
Yeah.
The grants that are coming through, and for us as professionals, there's networking workshops. There's a conference every year, so we go and network with other communities and learn like, oh, what are you all doing, and here's what this, and then,
They listed all
Okay.
the grants that were given out this year.
yeah.
Unfortunately, I didn't see our name.
Yeah. Well, one of my updates is that we did finally close out the DNR Land and Water Conservation Grant,
Did you? Okay.
which had just a loose ends that we did not wrap up until January. But now we're clear to apply for more, so that's the good news.
The Wayne County millage money, I believe they call it, is that, there was an update in your email about that, and that's, you said you ordered,
Yep, that's been ordered, yep, the playground equipment,
coming this spring?
yep. So we'll see when, I haven't heard that it's come in yet, and it'll just depend on installation availability, but it's been ordered.
The roof will be finished in the spring?
No, well, they're there today, huh?
The trim, that's what I
The
was.
trim, yeah, the trim is what they're finishing. They give different things all the time, but they're there this week trying to finish up the gymnasium piece. They've got some special thing they have to do, but if the weather cooperates, if we don't get the real extreme cold or wetness, It should be in the next 10 days or so, 10 working days. So, close, very close.
Does anybody have anything else for other business? Okay, moving on. Public comment, non-agenda items?
I'm cheating, well, I'm cheating a little bit because the general rec center policy, I know it's on your agenda, but yeah, anyways. I don't know if it would help or not, but I know, when the middle schoolers start school and the high schoolers, they sign paperwork saying they'll abide by a bunch of rules and stuff like that, and the parents gotta sign it. I know it's a record keeping on your end to keep it somewhere, but middle schoolers are definitely old enough to sign
Like
something
a,
like
like a
that.
behavior contract?
Yeah,
kinda,
exactly, so they understand that.
Yeah.
They're signing something.
Yeah, that's
Other than that, I was just gonna mention soccer club, registrations are open to March 1st. I'm no longer associated with the soccer directly, but I do know the registration dates, so they run to March 1st, and their season will start April. I know a lot of people, with the weather, you don't think about soccer or any youth sports, but most of the youth sports are gathering registrations now so they can plan for the spring. I imagine TCYA is doing the same thing. And that's it.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to report from Parks and Rec Director.
All right, well, I had sent in the email and in your packet in front of you, the report that I sent to council, so that was done last week, but that provides some highlights from December, essentially, and numbers. So if you have questions, I'm happy to answer. I wasn't going to go over everything. There's a couple of items I do want to highlight. You did mention the fitness room, so that has opened up to 18 and older the evenings from 5 to 8. So right now, we're evaluating, or we're calling it a pilot, to see how it goes. The only thing we're worried about is capacity. So it's not the largest fitness room, but we do want it to be accessible to everybody. And in the evenings, it seems like there's a lot of open equipment. So we are trying that currently now till June, and then we'll evaluate and see how that goes. I did mention so DNR grant, that one's wrapped up, free to apply for another one. The HUD grant was submitted from, that's for the HVAC on at Radcliffe. Of course, that is also impacted by the federal grant freezing, so we just have to wait and see. I think there's already lawsuits and stuff, so I have no idea what that will entail, but it did get submitted after a lengthy process. We are planning an Easter extravaganza event for April 19th. We are looking to partner with different community groups, so in the next week, I hope to be reaching out to see if other groups want to partner with us. The idea is we're going to have a pancake brunch and an egg hunt, but some other activities in open space or open rooms in Radcliffe. So we really want all ages to come and have brunch. And the firemen are going to do the pancakes. We'll have some things catered. We're still in the planning stages. We're hoping to have community groups participate or donate syrup or something. We want it to be really affordable for everybody, seniors and families, because we think it would be a great event to be at Radcliffe, and then have the egg hunts in the little kids in the courtyard, and then there's some other spaces. So hopefully I'll get some information out. I would love for the Park Commission to be a part of it, either to table or volunteer. So when I send you the info, I'll send you the flyer, and you can let me know if you're around or interested in helping with that.
What date was that again?
Saturday, April 19th. So that is between Good Friday and Easter. That's from 9 to noon. And we're hoping to get 300 people and break them into 3 sessions. And then the appreciation dinner is moved to March 20th. So you should be getting invitations, I think, soon. And those will be coming through email. So that's for 2024 volunteering, I don't know if the new people get it or not, I don't. But that's hosted by the city for all the boards and commissions.
Is that at La Roma again?
What's that?
Is that La Roma?
No, is it going to be at Radcliffe?
Oh,
where?
that's nice.
Radcliffe,
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, so. We already talked about the workshop. That is it for me, other than the Christmas tree decorations. If you wanted to take them home, some of you brought stuff. If you don't want it, you want to keep it for next year, I'll store it with our tree, but I wanted to make sure I followed up on that. But that is all I have.
Okay, commissioner comments.
No, I don't have one today. Oh, I just want to say though, Erica, you did a great job on your presentation. You really did a great job. Really, that was really good.
Did the fence ever get done at City Park?
Yes.
Yes. See, you haven't been here.
I have a picture of it with me standing by it.
A packet of information for you, actually, now that I think about it, in my office.
I just would like to say that I've been at Radcliffe, and twice during the last month, I've seen the 3rd and 4th graders from the various Garden City schools walking through the hall. And they seem to be having a great time. They go to different locations and do different things, and it's a good program.
Welcome to you both. Happy to have a full commission. And that's all I have.
Yeah, about the middle, or the elementary kids at the Radcliffe Center, I absolutely love that they're bringing field trips there. That's fantastic.
Yes.
Like, I mean, seriously, they don't have to travel to other cities to go to use all these amenities. They can go right down the street. So that's a really great idea. That.
If you want to see something good, watch them play dodgeball.
Yeah, I gotta give Sean Hahn the credit with FRC. He really reached
Yes.
out and coordinated it and then got us all roped in, and so.
That's
but
really cool.
It's been very fun.
Yeah, that's cool. That's all I have. And welcome. Welcome. I have nothing.
welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Any comments?
No, no comments. Just welcome.
You said, mentioned a little bit about myself, right?
Yeah, if you'd like to.
Fairly new. It's an honor to serve as a commissioner with you all, and it's great to meet all you guys today. I've lived in Garden City for 15 years. Moved here with my wife. I've got we have a 13-year-old son, 10-year-old daughter. I acted in GCYAA. He played football. My daughter cheers. I've been a football coach for the last 6 years. I plan on hanging up my whistle this year, and I'm just going to help out behind the scenes with the director and Joe Bandy. He was at the last meeting, right? I try to do whatever I can, volunteer my time with GCYAA. It's a great organization. It's okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad to see GCYA on this commission because it's such a huge part of our city and our parks. So having you on this board is kind of like how I got involved when I was with the soccer club. And I felt that, you know, to represent the youth in the community in that sport was what I intended to do. And I've been here, I don't even know how many years now, but Joe brought me on when he was on the board, and then, you know, he had left, and we didn't have anyone from GCYA, so I'm excited that you're part of that, so.
And I will add that Eric's done a great job. I think I was watching videos from back last May or so. Was that probably your first one?
Oh my gosh.
I was trying to get it.
Feels like 10 years ago.
I'm trying to get up to speed a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I know that you were throwing a curveball from the beginning, and you had to do the best that you could do. And I think the majority would say that you've done a great job.
Yes.
And I would like to continue to hope you in that right direction. So I think you're doing great things for the city, and it goes for you as well. You guys have approved of many of these things, or at least, yeah, it's great to be a part of.
I have one other thing.
Nope.
Should we set dates for the park cleanups? I know
Yeah.
you had it like spring summer, but
Yeah, I just moved it to the next month agenda, and I didn't, so next
Okay,
month,
that's
we're
fine.
gonna have the volunteer work days, so I think I'm gonna bring a plan, and for some of the new folks, there is, I think, something I should probably talk to you about, Kate, is how, if we wanna keep the parks, like, everybody as a commissioner is like, a park, what do we call it?
Assigned a part.
Assigned a park, and so you do evaluations on it, and when we host events, it's kind of like, that's your park. So I think we need to look at that and see if everyone has a park, if they want to keep that park, right? Because I think you talked about sometimes you moved it, but you wanted to keep it. So I think we could talk about that, get some dates for the work days.
Do you have a list of?
I do. I do.
Maybe bring that next time because.
Yeah, I have a list of the parks assigned. And I've got Bridget at Arcola, Dennis City
Oh, so
Park.
I didn't even know what park I was at.
Oh, so, okay, Sharon Florence Park. I don't have anyone at Helen Park. Kate Kiwanis, Jennifer Manor, Robert Moeller,
Bowler, yeah.
and John Rotary.
And city.
So, Helen Park. So if we want to keep them, we can review it next meeting and maybe go over what responsibility is, or, because some of you do inspections. I don't even know where that inspection form is.
We have them.
I have a couple.
Oh,
I can
okay.
bring you one.
Okay, so we could go over that and assign them, and then work on the dates for the spring and summer work days. But thanks for bringing that up.
Anything else?
yeah, because the work days went over real big. I mean, we had
Yeah.
people come in and volunteer.
Yeah. And our next meeting is February, is, you know,
25th?
put it on record here.
Yes.
It'll be quick, the 25th. So it'll be a quick meeting because we're so late, and we had such a long break, so.
Okay, would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
Who's, Jen, is that you?
No,
I did.
Oh, Bridget, okay. Oh, yeah, and I'm gonna put back on the or back in the next meeting agenda, secretary, if anybody's interested.
You did a great job,
Gonna put that-
You said you have,
No, I don't